Are we streaming on all things? Good morning. Welcome to the community of First Unitarian Church of Omaha. I'm Reverend Sherry Woodbury, the minister here. I want to give a special welcome to any visitors who are joining us today. This congregation is a community of all ages and abilities. It is a community with a rainbow of gender and sexual identities. It is a community of diverse cultural and class backgrounds. We draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self into this community. Today is actually a little different than most Sundays of the year. This is the day that we have our annual congregational meeting, part of the democratic process of our church. And that's taking the place of the usual worship service. Visitors who are interested in learning about the church are invited to join Melissa Gibson, our membership coordinator. Are you there, Melissa? She's going to wave her hand. She'll be down in the lounge, which is just down this hallway. It has comfy couches. And that's a great time to have some casual conversation, learn more about First Unitarian and the tradition that we're a part of. And note that after the congregational meeting, we will be having coffee and snacks downstairs in the common room, which is in the basement, and anyone is welcome to come and visit with folks there too. So again, anyone who's visiting who isn't interested in just observing our democratic process at work here, our annual meeting, is welcome to go down to the lounge to visit with our membership coordinator. If you're joining us online and you are eligible to vote, please use Zoom rather than YouTube. Zoom is where the polls for voting will be. And we've also got the option to show people on the screen here in the sanctuary who might want to participate in the deliberation of the congregation about voting issues. So again, if you're a voting member and you are participating online, please use the Zoom link that went out with this meeting or is on the homepage of the church website rather than YouTube. Using YouTube is fine if you just want to be an observer of the meeting. One last note for folks in the sanctuary. If you are logged onto church Wi-Fi and you don't need to be, please put your phone on airplane mode during the service. At this time, I invite forward Colin McDonald to light the flaming chalice. If you'd like to join me in the chalice lighting words, they're inside the front cover of the gray hymnal. Here we go. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. Thank you, Colin. And now I'll turn it over to our president.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Today is one of the biggest events of church where we interact with each other and try to give specific reports of what we have been done in the last years. I, Harold Cruz Sanchez, am president of the board. I will start this specific meeting with a call for a confirmation of our covenant of right relations. So, without further ado, please let me start the annual meeting 2023. Thank you for being here. We start with the covenant of the right relation. So please, if we had a minute to read that one, I will just keep here, read that from here. We, the congregation of the First Unitarian Church of Omaha, covenant together to create a religious community where we can freely explore our values and foster diversity as a source of communal strength. To build healthy relationships, seeking to understand each other and respect our differences. to listen deeply, and endeavor to communicate directly, honestly, and compassionately, particularly when we are in conflict. To do our best to amend when we have hurt each other, even unintentionally, and to learn from our mistakes, to forgive, and to reconnect in a spirit of understanding and commitment. This Covenant of Right Relation was approved in the Congregational meeting of 2019 and is, from my opinion, one of the best ways to start our annual meetings. Thank you. So now we start with the process. So do we have quorum, Mr. Secretary Bruce?
We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. So let's go to the business. For the people who are joining us through Zoom, we have some Zoom meeting housekeeping, and I will ask Kat Plumby to give us a short explanation. 1 second, please. I need to call her. Well, the Zoom housekeeping is taking care. Is that one? Thank you. So our next point is, can Dave Richardson be the parliamentarian for today? What do you think? Yes? So, thank you. So, we are in a roll. Our next point is the approval of the minutes from the 153rd annual meeting that was 1 year ago. If there is no concerns or no further opinions, I will suppose this to be approved. So please raise your hand if you had any comment. Okay.
The 153rd annual meeting.
Thank you. So if there are no many other concerns, the minutes from the 153rd annual meeting are approved. Thank you. The second approvals are the meetings for the mid-year meeting that was on January 8, 2003. It is located in the packet that we received today, we can get today. So if there are no many objections, or there are no objections, I suppose we can approve those minutes as well. Is there any objections to the minutes of the mid-year meeting, January 8, 2023? I don't see any hands raised, so those are also approved. Thank you very much. That's an easy way to go. Our next point on the agenda is a very important point. And here we had our, where is our, she's busy. She's a busy lady for the congregation. Okay, Melissa is here, thank you. One of the points of the agenda is for our congregation to approve the ordination of Melissa Gibson as a wedding officiant. And in order to do that, I just want to show you some aspects of her background. Melissa has been involved with the UU Church, first in Shreveport, sorry for my mistake on that specific city in Louisiana. She has been a leader there since 2010. Last year, Melissa started with the First Unitarian Church in Omaha. And at the same time, she's pursuing her degree, her master's degree, at the Stark King School of Divinity. for the ministry in Oakland, California. Most of you know Melissa as a membership coordinator of this church, but now we want to support her in authorizing her to be an officer of weddings at this specific church. This will open her to new opportunities to continue her ministerial formation, and also will provide maybe some income for freelance work. The wedding officiant is for non-members that want to have the wedding in this specific church, especially in this beautiful building. So I ask the congregation to please support Melissa in her wedding membership, as a wedding officiant at this church. If there is no objection, I will please ask for you to applause for her approval. Melissa, do you want to say something now that you have been officially promoted to wedding officiant at this church?
Thank you everyone for your encouragement and making me feel welcome this last year. So I'm looking forward to another year with all of you.
Thank you. Okay, now comes the part where we have our reports. All the report has been included in the packet, starting from the board report and continue with all the other reports that are kind of from part of the team and from the minister at the church. If there are no objections, I will support that we agree that those reports are within the margin of what we were expecting. I just want to comment that last year has been a challenging one, not only for the political reason that involved Nebraska, but also because we start with a federal challenge. And we have been calling to action, and that action has been in supporting the reproductive rights, not only here at the church, but Nebraska and a federal level as well. So, in this last year, we have been promoting and working on the rights to reproductive rights, and still, last week, we got the bad news that a challenge to our law has been approved in the Nebraska. So that means we need to continue to fight for the rights of every person in this state to be or to have the autonomy to decide for themselves. Our church has been both to be a stand for the rights of reproductive autonomy, and we will continue to work on that. I please ask for you to keep supporting this cause, not only by showing your respect and showing your support, but also to providing some economical incentive to keep the fight going. If there are no challenges or questions or comments regarding to the reports, I think we can continue to the next part, the next important part of our meeting. And it's gonna be, oh, I cannot remove this one, sorry. It's gonna be the finance report. For the finance report, I invite Walt to explain that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Harold. I want to take a little more time than I normally do for these reports because we have things we need to be dealing with in terms of church finances. And I can't see the whether I can advance the PowerPoint here or not. But I don't usually use PowerPoint, so it's okay one way or the other. I thought it might help for those who are closer to be able to see some numbers. So I want to talk about some background information. Basically, just in terms of a quick tutorial, our budget runs from May 1 to April 30 every year. It's basically the equivalent of our checking account in more personal terms. We also have a balance sheet, and both of those are summarized in the report. The balance sheet has information about our investments and so forth, but it also has information about fixed accounts that are sort of our savings accounts, along with some of our investments. And we're going to be talking about both those things. In terms of investments, another tutorial item, and maybe we should advance a slide here, if we can do that. I'm not sure where I can do that from. Here? Ah. It's not doing it for me. That's okay. We all know PowerPoint is mostly for the speaker anyway, and I've got a copy in front of me. I would... It's not doing it. That's okay. This one. Okay. So the balance sheet shows our investments, and there are a couple different categories here. One is certificates of deposit, and we have a modest amount there, about $69,000. The main investments on the balance sheet are capital trust investments that are managed by our trustees. There are 4 funds there. A few years ago, we moved that money to the endowment fund managed by the EUA. That is, they have their money in an endowment. They allow churches to sort of buy into that. We set up 4 funds there for this church, and they're summarized on the balance sheet. The main one there is the Capital Trust endowment. That is our church endowment. It currently has a value of about $642,000. There is also a board investment fund that we set up a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, that has about $490,000 in it. This is made up of money from bequests, Dick Holland and another major bequest, and some other money we put together. We invested about $500,000 at that time, and we have that with the UA Endowment Fund. There are 2 more smaller funds. The Women's Alliance has an endowment in addition to their budget that's on the balance sheet. And we have a music endowment that was funded in part by bequests to provide more music for the church. And this last year, we've had a number of outside performers funded by that money. 4% of each of these funds comes back to the church as annual income. And it's important to note here that the Board Investment Fund, unlike the others, is not really an endowment. That is, the board can withdraw money from that fund in order to balance the budget, etc., without actually a vote of the congregation. And we're doing that. So let me go on with the results from a year ago. That is, should have been announced at this last meeting a year ago, but we didn't have end of the year results at that time. We had a very successful stewardship campaign. This was like 3 campaigns ago. But the pledge income was quite a bit less than what we'd had as a stewardship campaign pledge total. We had more than 270,000 pledged, but we only had 258,000 that was actually contributed. We had $36,000 from the federal government as part of the COVID routine, and in the end we had a deficit of 17,000. We expected a deficit of 10, so we were about 7,000 over that, and that money came from the reserve funds on the balance sheet. Now, this past year, the year that ended this April 30th, our results were not as good in terms of the end of the year. We had an initial pledge goal of 300,000. We didn't make that, so we cut back the budget to 270. We didn't quite have that in pledges, but we thought we might get there. We cut the UA dues in half in order to help balance the budget. We assumed a budget deficit of $40,000, which is higher than I would have liked, but we didn't really have any choice in the matter. Our total pledges ended up at $264,000, but our actual contributions were less than that. And in addition, we had really high maintenance expenses this last year. We had $41,000 in maintenance expenses, including the painting of the church, both small projects and large projects. We had about $15,000 or $16,000 in organ repair and piano maintenance and tuning. As a result of that, we had more money that we used that way than we had available from Preserve Our Building money. We had a $30,000 given from Preserve Our Building like a year and a half ago. We went through that and about 20,000 more. In addition, because our pledges were low, we had about 11,350 that were basically over budget in terms of where we were if we subtracted off these other additional expenses. The result of that, along with the $40,000 deficit that we had sort of built in, is that our total deficit this last year was almost $72,000. And the problem there isn't really the overspending on things that we really needed to do for the church. The problem is the $40,000 that we assumed to begin with as sort of a built-in structural deficit. We really are going to have trouble going forward if we continue to do that. So in order to make this work, we took $35,000 from that board investment fund because we didn't have enough reserve funds on the balance sheet to cover a $72,000 deficit. That was the year that just ended. In terms of the stewardship campaign, which is summarized here, we recruited Katrina Schmidt to help run the campaign, and I think she did an amazing job. And we had a large support cast that's I think acknowledged in the stewardship report. But despite pulling out all the stops in terms of the stewardship campaign, we ended up with only about $250,000 in pledges. $251,450 is where we are right now. It's well below what we wanted, and it's below what we had for the year before, including below what we actually had for pledge payments the year before. That necessitated more looking at the budget in order to make things work. And that difference is largely because of losing members and new members not having pledges as large as the members we were losing. So the budget cuts that are built into the proposed budget include holding the UUA dues at about half cost, limiting salary increases to $4,000. We've been routinely giving 3% across the board increases. We're not going to do that this year. Across the board increase would have cost us $9,600 or so. We cut that way back. Reverend Sherry is not going to get a salary increase as a result of this. We have some money to provide increases for staff. There's no money for OTOC in the budget. We're going to do a 1 month of share the plate for OTOC. We've cut discretionary money a little bit. And we have $8,000 for repairs, but we're going to limit that to just repairs. If we want to do any major projects, we're going to go to preserve our building fund to get that kind of money. And last but not least, there's no money in this budget for a replacement for Pat Will as our organist. We don't have an organist in sight. We don't have the money to support an organist. An organist would have cost us quite a bit more than we were paying Pat, and there really isn't just any way to do it. The irony being that we just spent $13,000 fixing our organ. So the proposed budget, which is summarized here and is in the report, has a total budget of $416,630. It incorporates all those cuts that I just went through. It assumes a deficit of $40,000, even though I know we don't really want to do that, but we really have no choice. That money will all come from the Board Investment Fund because we've blown through our reserves on the balance sheet. It assumes a supplemental stewardship campaign because this one really wasn't very successful in the end. It assumes $30,000 from that campaign, which is, I think, a real stretch. We've typically gotten about $20,000 from previous supplemental campaigns. We did the last one just before COVID. And it assumes much better management of expenditures. I'm going to be looking at that more closely this year so that we actually don't exceed our planned deficit as we did in the current year. So the details of that are all in the annual report. We're going to try and avoid the kind of deficit we've had this year, but I think it'll be another difficult year. And I don't like presenting these results right before we try looking for a president-elect, but I think we need to look at how we can manage things, and we need to assume that we're really tight on money. One example we had very recently was a request for $2,000 to have the windows washed, which was a good idea, but it would have spent a quarter of our maintenance budget in the first week of the year, and we questioned that. And Mark talked to a few people, and we decided the windows were okay. And that's more or less the attitude we need to assume for the rest of this year in order not to have a year like the one we just had. So that's where we are. I'd like a motion to approve the budget as proposed in a second, and then we can discuss it if anybody wants to do that. Yes? Do we have a second? Second from Barb, the back. Are there any questions or discussion? Yes.
Thank you so much, Walt. I think you did a great job of explaining.
Well, that's where we are. Okay, if that's, should we have a vote or should we do it Harold's way here? Yes.
I see here under income, Holland Fund contribution. What is that?
That is the money. That's a very good question. That's the money that we've been from. We took the money from Dick Holland's bequest, and we invested some of it, and we set aside some of it to sort of ease off his large pledge. And every year we've been easing off by $5,000. This is the last year coming up. We have $5,000 left in that fund, and we treat that as a substitute for as an additional equivalent of pledge income. And we've had that for 6 years. This is our last year, and so we have that $5,000 left, and it's in the budget. And next year we'll be without that. We'll also have less money from the board investment fund as a result of tapping it for these various expenses. Other questions? We have a vote on approving the budget. All in favor? Opposed? All right.
We got to see the online
Hey.
result too. Online result.
Are we able to broadcast it to? Does someone have what?
Does someone have an objection or a?
No, there were just comments thanking Walt, and I wanted to.
Well, that's okay.
And we need to pause for voting too.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Ward. Well, as everybody here noticed, this is not our regular Sunday service. So we are in a business casual environment today. So that doesn't imply that we should avoid our other values and other responsibilities. And as every week, we still want to take some offering in support of the liberal religious values that we have.
I want to also echo what Harold said earlier about how important it has been for this congregation to stand for our values with what's going on in the legislature. And it was a blow Friday not only to have the ban on abortion come back in a different form, but also to have trans youth and families really restricted in what they can do. We remain a welcoming congregation, and my heart goes out to all the families and the youth who are suffering and questioning their choice to live in Nebraska. So for our community offering, each week, as you know, we share our blessings with others through an offering, and half of the loose currency that is put in the plate goes to a local cause, which resonates with your values. Now, those who are online or prefer to give via your smartphone, you can use the QR code. Our Share the Plate recipient for May is the Ponca Express Transportation Program of the Ponca Tribe of Nebraska. Ponca Express assists low-income people in the Omaha and Council Bluffs communities who are in need of transportation at no cost. Some of our church members use this service and are grateful for it. See if you recognize the musical selection. We've brought back a little blast from the past here, and thank you for your generosity.
I feel no motion standing. Still my dry land.
Well, we can say thank you again for the wonderful music. He's here today? No? What? Now it comes one of the most important part of our annual meeting, and is when we give the opportunity to other people, to other members to serve. Most of them had agreed to be included as the nominees, so we are start the process of electing our next set of leaders. The first leader that we usually elect is also named as the president-elect. Oops, sorry, that didn't went as expected. So, for the specific role of the president-elect, we had an open floor for nominees. Do you have any questions there at the bottom?
Looking at our bylaws, and on our bylaws, page 5, number C.
Would you stand up so we can hear you better, please?
Sure. I was looking at our bylaws.
I've got a mic.
Yeah.
I've got a mic here that'll make this easier. Let me bring this back to you.
For the
Sorry
folks
about
on
that.
Zoom.
Pardon?
We need to be mic'd for the folks on Zoom.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hey, I have a question, and my name's Kathy Alexander, and I have a question. I was looking at the bylaws. On page 5 of our bylaws, under nominations and elections, on letter C, it says, prior to each annual meeting, the nominating committee shall select a candidate for election to president-elect and/or president of the Board of Trustees if there shall be a vacancy in any of these positions. No person shall be nominated without first consent to serve. The names of the selected for the nomination shall be, etc. In other words, it then goes on further to say that we can do from the floor only after we have somebody who's on this slate. So as far as I can see from our bylaws, we can't go forward.
Okay. Do we have any from the governance committee here that can help us with that specific question? Otherwise, with the parliamentarian, we intervene here.
Unless there's something further beyond that, Kathy, or questions from anybody else, it seems fairly explicit to me, and that's just a quick opinion. I'm wondering if we can't expedite this with a I think the motion would be the changing the rules. There is an acceptable motion to suspend rules. And now that's Robert's Rules of Order, which can be only a guideline. I'd like to hear from others on that one.
As a member of the nominating committee, we tried to get people not to accept a nomination for president-elect. And we did not have anybody who was willing to take on that type of church responsibility at this time. I believe that what Dave said about having that quickly changed so we can nominate from the floor would be very, very acceptable.
Well, rather than hamstring everything else, it seems to me that we could put the nomination of the president-elect at the end of the other elections and then see if there's a nomination from the floor.
And I'm sorry, I don't have the bylaws in front of me. I think my interpretation when I read them was that that was in the event of an opening that occurred during the year after the meeting would be handled in that manner. I might be wrong, but that was my interpretation when I looked at it, because as a member of the nominating committee, I knew we were in a difficult position. I don't know how we can get someone if we don't accept a nomination from the floor, because would have to be a whole other annual meeting if that is the case.
It says right here. Additionally, members, you are allowed to after. So basically it says first you have to have somebody nominated. After you have somebody nominated, you can have additional people. It then goes on to say if you have a whole bunch of people, how to handle it. But the reason that it requests, or it applies that the reason that it requests that you have people in the first place is that so that people, one, have had time to decide, do you really want to do this very important job for a very long amount of time? Two, it has been published and people have time to decide, do they like these people? And it is not something that is being decided in 30 seconds. Do we think this person can handle this job for several years? Because that's what we've got today. We are looking at somebody who's going to be nominated on the floor for the most important position of the church because nobody has agreed to do it. And so we're now saying no one wants to do this and has agreed to take it in advance. So we're now going to try and get somebody who will take it on the fly for the most important position of the church.
Okay.
And our bylaws say that that's not acceptable for the very good reason that nobody should be taking the most important position job in the church just on the fly.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Let's try to limit that to 1 minute, please.
Hello, I'm looking at, I can't tell if it's page 5 or 6, but it's 6 of 8 under the nominating committee. You mentioned C, but if you move down to D, it says additional nominations may be made by voting members from the floor with the nominee's oral consent to serve if the nominee be present or within consent to serve if the nominee should not be present. A written consent, so I'm sorry.
Okay, we had a comment from here.
I have a couple comments. One from Joseph Sheff. I would point out that this is a 2-year commitment, 1 year for president-elect and 1 year for president. And I have a comment from Jennifer Larson. I move we proceed with the remainder of the business and return to this issue at the end of the meeting. That has been seconded.
Do I return the mic or do I still say something?
I asked Dave. Discussion on the motion? All those in favor of proceeding with the remainder of the business and return to this issue at the end of the meeting? Raise your hand. We'll do it this way. Any objections on Zoom? If not, we will proceed with regular business. Thank you.
Well, that's a good observation that we happen to have today. So let's continue with the elections. The second part is the elections of the members to the Board of Trustees. The nominating committee had this slate: Douglas Lee Regier, Tricia Piat, and Vanessa Timberlake. Do we have any extra nominees from the floor? First call. Zoom. For the election of the Board of Trustees. We had to make this announcement 3 times, so a second time. Do we have any extra nominees for the Board of Trustees? Okay, a final call. Do we have any extra nominees for the Board of Trustees? Nothing on Zoom? Okay. So, can we please vote on the slate that the nominating committee had put on in front of us? Election of Douglas, Tricia, and Vanessa to be part of the Board of Trustees. Please raise your hand. Any opposition to this slate? We are just waiting for the members that are connected through Zoom. Well, we don't have any opposition from the members of Zoom. So we welcome to the new members of the board, Douglas, Tricia, and Vanessa. Thank you. Our second set of nomination is for the Right Relations Committee. Currently, we have two nominees from the nominating committee. One is Terry Lynn Brewer, and the other one is Jean Wagner. Let me try to reach. Yeah, thank you. So the slate for the nominees is Terry Lynn Brewer and Jean Wagner. Do we have any additional nominees from for the Right Relations Committee? Okay, second call. Do we have any additional nominee for the Right Relations Committee? Okay, final call. Do we have any additional nominee for the position of the Right Relations Committee? Okay, we are waiting for the Zoom members too. No additional nominees, even from Zoom. So, can we vote? Should we should we vote for the slate that was posted to us for the Relation Committee, Terry Lindbrewer and Jim Wagner? Please raise your hand if you agree with this election, with this vote. Any opposition? It will take a minute for the members on Zoom. Okay, so with that, I welcome to the new members of the Right Relation Committee, Terry Lynn and Jit Warner. And finally, again, we had a last election before continuing, and it's from the trustee for the Capital of Trust. Oh, sorry, yeah, thank you. I was skipping too far. Our next slide is regarding the nominating committee. Currently, we have two nominates, Walt Jested and Dave Richardson. Do we have any additional nominee for the nominating committee? Okay, we're waiting for the Zoom. Nominating committee. Okay. Second call. Do we have any additional nominee for the nominating committee? Oh. Something is... Third call, last call. Do we have any nominating for the nominating committee? Okay, no nomination for Zoom. So let's see. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposition? No? Waiting for the Zoom results. Okay, we also had yes from the Zoom people. So, with that, welcome to the new members of the Nominating Committee, John, Walt, and Dave. Thank you. Okay, one extra election that we need to take care. Trustee for the Capital Trust. The Nominating Committee is postulating John Wagner. As soon as if I... So, trustees of the Capital Trust, we have John Wagner. Do we have any other nominee from the floor? Or from Zoom? Okay, second call. Are there any nominees for the position of trustee of the Capital Trust? Final call. Do we have any additional nominee for the position of the trustee of the Capital Trust? Nope. Okay, thank you. Please, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Any opposition to elect John Wagner as trustee of the Capital Trust? Waiting the results. Don't you love the technology? Allows us to communicate faster, but still we have to wait. Yes, so we welcome John Wagner to as a trustee of the Capital Trust. Thank you. And now, I'm calling for a 5 minutes break in order to start to continue with the process. So please use 2 minutes to share with your neighbor how your life is going today. Okay, ready for continue? I hope you have a really good conversation with your neighbor. Otherwise, we can continue during the coffee hour. Let's go back to business. Well, it seems that there is a little bit of ambiguity in the bylaws, but after consultation, it seems that we don't need to elect a president-elect today if there is no obvious candidate for that position, and that we can still ask the nominating committee to try to search for a good candidate to present to the board or to present to the congregation at large. As a suggestion, and I totally agree with that, we are going to ask the nominating committee to look for another set of candidates to present for the position of president-elect. As a congregation, we can still function without that position. Still, we had time to find a good candidate, and still we had time to train the candidate into the position of president-elect. Without further ado, I think the issue to be resolved, the nominating committee will carefully search for a new set of candidates and promote one for the congregation to vote. Yes?
So my question is, what will the timeline be? How long until we get a chance to vote again on this?
Okay, usually we had a mid-year election, and a mid-year meeting that is in January. So I hope that we have something before that time. But still, if that is the occasion for the election of the president-elect, that will be January mid-year meeting. Yeah, but also we had other tools in our disposal, so there is no a big deal in not electing the president-elect today.
Do I need to repeat my question for the folks on Zoom?
No, I captured it.
Thank you.
Detail person that I am. So I'm just curious, are we charging our current composition of the nominating committee then to carry forward with continuing this task, or does it then fall with our new composition of the nominating
Everything
committee?
will go into the new composition of the nominating committee.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think we had a path forward with that election of the president-elect. So, thank you. Continue with our regular business of today. I want to say thank you to all the volunteers that took a position of leadership in the church. All the volunteers that provide the commitment, the energy, the time to keep our church running and to keep our faith in movement. I will really appreciate all the leaders of the church that end your terms today to please stand up, and please the rest of the congregation to say thank you to them. I will mention 3 special members of the board that are ending their term: Nelly Shinowet, Niva Kosin, and Brute Godfrey. Those have been 3 valuable members. If you can stand up, I will say thank you. It has been a difficult year in many aspects. So the valuable support of the volunteers that take leadership position is invaluable, is priceless. And I also want to give a round of applause to other members of the other volunteers that took position in other committees and other teams, that they are also ending these roles today. I don't have all the names, but I really appreciate all the work they did. So for the other members of the community that volunteer as leaders in position, please give her a round of applause. And thank you for all the work they do. Now we reach the point where we recognize members of our congregation that have done some work, a spectacular work, have helped the congregation to continue its work. So I'm calling the Linda Parker for the nominating committee to start the award recognition. Linda.
Good morning, and it is still morning. One of the joys of being a member of the nominating committee is to become even more aware of all of the wonderful and outstanding members, adults, youth, and friends of our congregation. Today we share with you this year's awardees. The order of the presentation in the program is going to be slightly altered because the RE and Youth Awards have to be presented at the end because they're all involved in the religious education program. And now for the first award. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Traveler, there is no road, we make the road as we go. These lines from Spanish poet Antonio Machado describe what it feels like for any congregation trying to find its way as it builds multicultural, anti-racist, beloved community. It is my honor to present the Unitarian of the Year Award. This award reflects not only the many creative talents and contributions of Harold Cruz Sanchez to First Unitarian Church, but also the many roads that he has made for us. For the past 2 years, Harold has served as president-elect and president of the board. His leadership skills have shown in the visioning for the church, faithfully following the bylaws of the church, and his ability to handle conflict. He is able to set boundaries with a gentle and kind hand. His patience and humility are his strengths and an integral part of the calming aspects of his leadership. Harold led the initiative for a board retreat to build stronger relationships among the board members. Harold's even-handed leadership keeps people on track, and his analytical mindset includes important leadership qualities: agility, adaptability, and flexibility. Harold is very proud of his heritage, both from his country of birth and now as a citizen of the United States. Harold's contributions beyond the board include input to the beloved community team, our religious education initiatives, creative ways to engage the congregation, and support for both our stewardship campaign and the Heart in Hand auction. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Congratulations, Harold. You are the Unitarian of the Year. Okay, next, Terry Lynn Brewer will present 2 awards.
Good morning, everyone. This morning, I have the honor of presenting 2 awards. First is our Keeping the Faith Award. As Unitarian Universalists, keeping the faith is one of the greatest commitments we can make as members of our congregation. Keeping the faith is about love, and as we, as a congregation, give it to each other and our community. Keeping the faith isn't just about ourselves, it is about the outreach that counts. It's about the hearts that we live it within the congregation. The award winner has certainly shown us that what faith is all about. He has given it to us. He gives us reasons for the 8th principle when he gave us communication with the indigenous people of Omaha. He is a compassionate worship associate. His voice gentle and can be felt every word, just as words of his poetry resonate in our souls. He is a Reiki master and a Reiki massage therapist. He gives his heart, spirit, and time to this community. Personally, he has taught me about energy and love within my own heart. This congregation recognizes Douglas Lee Laguerre with this Keeping the Faith Award, and I'm honored to be the one to present it to him. The next award I would like to present is Young Adult of the Year. When we think of the young adults of our congregation, we need to feel the future of the First Unitarian Church of Omaha community. Some of our young adults are new members, and some have been here since youth. They have been busy at their daily jobs, finding time and still finding time for their church community. That is what this year's award recipient represents, this kind of commitment to our church. He has assisted in keeping the young adult gatherings going. Each Sunday services, he places the page numbers of each hymn in the for the Sunday service. I myself loved hearing him during Sunday's Joys and Concerns. Colin McDonald, we the members of this congregation have chosen you to Unitarian Universalist Young Adult of the Year.
Thank you. I certainly was not expecting this.
Diana will give the next award.
Hi. I have the privilege of presenting the Heritage Award. Bob Perrin is a true stalwart of the First Unitarian Church of Omaha and has been for many years. In many ways, this sacred place is the magnificent place that it is because of Bob's efforts over the years. Bob has spearheaded many of the outstanding renovation and preservation projects over the last 50 years. This includes the extensive renovation of this church sanctuary and then the common room in 2008, made possible through the generosity of the late Dick Holland. Also, the installation of 2 previously damaged beautiful ornamental globe light fixtures in the sanctuary. This was the culmination of a 4-year quest conducted by the late Dean Christensen. If there was a task requiring replacement, repair, restoration, or renovation, Bob and Dean were known as the go-to guys. Dean was known for unselfishly saying, "In this church, we've got good people to go to." And I think he's still right. No one was a better example of that than Bob Perrin. Bob has continued his role of preservation and maintenance of this place. For example, Bob has been an integral part of the ongoing window repair project and an advisor for all of the things that come up around here. Bob is the conservator of church architect Alan McDonald's original blueprints and renderings of his plans for our 105-year-old building. In his home, Bob has a whole floor dedicated to those important historical artifacts. In his 2009 Henry Lemon sermon, Bob told the fascinating story of the design process Alan McDonald went through to achieve the award-winning edifice, which is on the local and National Registry of Historical Places. In our 2018 Centennial Sesquicentennial Heritage Celebration, Bob reenacted the role of Alan McDonald as he pointed out some of the incredible details of this Georgian revival masterpiece we call home, the First Unitarian Church of Omaha. Though he is not present with us in the sanctuary today, we are proud to honor Bob's longstanding commitment to the historical preservation and care of this church building. We also recognize his decades of service and participation in the church community and the church leadership. We are privileged to honor Bob Perrin with the 2023 Heritage Award. Bob's efforts and his generous gifts of time and talent over the years have made our church home a better place for all of us. He is traveling, so he will receive his award later. The second award that I'm presenting today is the Social Justice Award. And this year's honoree for the Social Justice Award is someone who usually prefers to be behind the scenes rather than in the spotlight. When she and her husband joined the church, a friend said they jumped in with both feet. From cleaning pews, volunteering on the office team, being a faithful longtime coffee hour coordinator, collecting items for holiday giving, and heading up the team for youth emergency services, Kim Callahan can best be described as a doer. Kim was here, but they had a time constraint, so we were able to quietly present the award to her, but I want to continue publicly here. Kim is the kind of person who doesn't blow her own horn, preferring to connect with others one-to-one and in small groups, always seeking to be helpful and supportive. Kim is the type of person who helps get the practical tasks done for any team or committee she's on. She gets the ball rolling and shows others how to work, not just dream or imagine. But in that work, she also builds relationships. Kim has always taken a strong interest in helping youth, and she's been a support system for many. On a personal level, she's been a refuge for kids who've had issues with their parents over their sexual identity. On a broader level, she's coordinated donation drives and monthly hot meals for the Street Outreach Center at Youth Emergency Services for several years. Kim and her team prepare a meal in the church kitchen each month, deliver it for lunch for unhoused and vulnerable youth in our community. In addition, she collects items needed at different times during the year. Right now, by the way, she's asking for personal hygiene products, such as feminine hygiene products, shampoo, soap, deodorant. So go ahead and bring those before May 25th, please, and leave them in the box in the coat rack area next to the common room. She also spearheads a drive for winter clothing and holiday gift donations for those often forgotten youth. Kim is the exemplar of the idea that you don't have to be loud or flashy to make a difference. She has quietly and steadfastly gone about her work helping others for years. You may not even know who she is, and that's most likely her preference. Her style can be described as stealth. She doesn't want accolades. She wants to help people and meet them where they are, and she has made a habit of doing just that. So we wanted to thank Kim for all she's done in the service of others, seeking equity, safety, and justice. Kim Callahan, we honor you with the Social Justice Award for 2023.
Well, I'm thrilled to introduce the winner of the Unsung Unitarian Universalist Award. A wonderful person with whom I've worked on many projects, both in the church and outside. I'm going to use they as the pronoun, so it'll be a little bit of a surprise who this person is. They joined the First Unitarian Church in 2001. Am I too close or too far from the mic? Is this okay? Okay. And later took the enormous job of treasurer, which I wouldn't touch in a million years because I'd probably have the whole financial foundation of this church in chaos. But then they served as president-elect and became president of the Board of Trustees the following year. One of the other board members said of this president, they were always well prepared and made the meetings friendly, open, and fun. I really enjoyed being on the board with them. They were very prescient about the future of our heating system and checked out various options for our building, end quote. For 2 years, they served on the hospitality team, which greets congregants on Sunday and makes newcomers feel welcome and at home in our congregation. Our award recipient was also on the nominating committee, which everybody knows is a very difficult job. This committee works hard to identify members who qualify for elected positions and are willing to serve. They also solicit congregants' input as to who should be recognized and honored for their contributions at our annual meeting. Recently, this unsung UU has been interim leader of the building team, and our church administrator, Kat Dixon, said, they have done an excellent job of categorizing and prioritizing our building projects by keeping a spreadsheet to track what is happening. They are always so organized. This leader has revitalized the team. The pillars out front were restored, and many other projects have been started, including exploring how to make our building more energy efficient. This outstanding leader has helped to apply for the Fund for Sacred Places, a grant to preserve our building. They also applied for the OPPD Greener Together grant for solar panels on our RE wing, and I've just heard that we have received that grant, which is really amazing. The award recipient requested bids from contractors for various projects and responded to several minor emergencies, like one time when the door of the church wouldn't lock. And then on February 2022, a car crashed into the back of our building, destroying part of the nursery, and our hero came in at the dead of night to secure the building. Later, they worked with insurers and tried to find glass blocks, and did find glass blocks, to replace those that had been a hallmark of our nursery forever. A colleague on this team said, their calm and positive manner has been so helpful. Outside of our church, he has been a great representative of our faith by working to establish co-housing in Omaha. One summer, he, Kate Godfrey, and I went to the National Conference on Co-housing in Boulder, Colorado. At the dance on the closing evening, we noticed that many women didn't have a dance partner. So Kate and I volunteered him to dance with these ladies. He graciously agreed and added a lot to everyone's fun. He has also worked extremely hard to set up an intriguing concept called the Time Bank for people who want to exchange their talents and skills or to barter for services. He has been active in many environmental projects, too numerous to mention, but including Transition Omaha and a banking system to help small farmers. He has always been encouraging, and he loves to help people to achieve their goals and dreams. For example, he was on the planning team for my third series of Black-White Dialogues back in 2010. That year, this congregation nominated me for the UUA Prairie Star District Adult Social Justice Award, but because my application was so puny and not very attractive, I didn't get it. However, in 2013, this congregation nominated me again, and he used his extensive talents and computer skills to add colorful photos to the application, and then I was extremely grateful to receive that award, so I really personally thank him. Finally, when I participated in a jazz camp in Crete, Nebraska several summers ago, I invited people to come to the performance, and somehow, amidst all his commitments, he found time to come and cheer me on. So it is with genuine pleasure that I present the Unsung Unitarian Universality Award to Jack Round.
wait just a moment for our last two presenters and recipients to arrive.
I'm presenting the Youth of the English. I'm presenting the Youth of the Year Award, and I have my thing written on my phone, so give me one sec. This young gentleman is not going to be here to receive this award, but a family member is going to accept on his behalf. This young man was one of the first to attend YRUU every possible Wednesday he could after the pandemic, and he helped recruit others who were a little more reluctant to become active. He's on the YRUU Leadership Board, and he has helped plan lessons this whole year. And in addition, he's been part of many special programs the youth have done, such as the 2 lock-ins this year, where he brought with his attendance many ideas and energy through actively engaging in games and activities. He is also one of our workers in the nursery. He's shown a lot of patience with the kids, and he's been very dependable. He's never missed a shift, and he's even wanted to work more shifts than we have available. He's a young man with integrity and persistence, and he's a great example to all of his peers. So I just want to congratulate Seth Connor for winning this award.
Hi, I'm Christina Strong, Director of Religious Education here at First U. I actually forgot that I was presenting this award today between our end of the year OWL celebration 20 minutes ago and our Mystery Friends lunch in about 20 minutes. So I will keep it brief, which this award winner may appreciate since she's been teaching our RE class for the last hour and a half during your meeting. Our Religious Education Award of the Year goes to Amanda Burton, and Okay. Not that brief, but you can stand up here with me. So I didn't really know Amanda, and she reached out to me, I think it was last August by email. I was on my respite leave and hadn't realized that our summer Sunday school class was struggling to continue in my absence, and she offered to teach. And I think I said, well, I'm not going to have a program ready for you till I come back in the fall, but yes. And Amanda has taught probably an average of 3.25 Sundays every month since then, and has agreed to be our Summer Sundays coordinator for the elementary class this summer. We all went volunteers who can make commitments and stick to the plan, and Amanda has all that. And on top of that, she has the flexibility to adjust plans as needed to meet the needs of our church, our kids, and the needs of the specific day and moment. And I really appreciate that about her. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you to all the wonderful members of this church that have done so much to keep us where we are now. Now, it's time to move the hat, to return the gavel, and to call into action to the next president. With that, I say thank you for all the time and the passion that you guys took with me, with my way of thinking, with my way of speaking, and also all the wonderful counsel, advice, and time that some of you took into providing input to me. With that, I just gave the powerful Thor gavel to the next president. Please welcome Mark Lokertoff.
I want to thank you all for electing me last year. It was the beginning of my experience serving on the Board of Trustees as the president-elect. And I have to say, well, it's been a blessing, first of all, and thank you for your confidence. Thank you for your confidence in me. And also, it's been a great experience observing Harold, his leadership, his patient and steady leadership has been a great example to me. And so I've learned a lot. And also, on behalf of the congregation, to say thank you to Harold. We have a gift that we would like to present to you. This is a painting from our own Bob Bosco. And now this meeting is adjourned.
No real bloodshed, hiccups.